Hey everybody, my name is Oladimeji Ajegbile and you are listening to The Simple Creative. This is a podcast about turning simple ideas into creative ones. And today's episode of the podcast features a book I read in the month of May, which is Take the Risk by Ben Carson. A couple of things I learned from this book is what I decided to share with you today on this episode. And if you're yet to subscribe to this particular or support this particular podcast, please kindly do so by liking this particular episode and also subscribe to get more contents like this. Let's get to the podcast. So in the month of January, I made up my mind that I'll read two books a month, but I ended up reading just one. And since January, I've kept on with just one book every month. And last month, I read this particular book, that's Take the Risk by Ben Carson. Now, so many things were said in this book, so many things I learned from this book, but I decided to just share two of them with you. And the very first one is it worth it to take a risk? Now, to answer this question is a little bit tricky because it falls on both sides. It could be yes, it could be no. There are times when a particular kind of risk is not worth taking if you try and analyze what comes after it. And then there are some that when you think about the end, like the ending point, it will be worth it to take that particular risk. Now, to be able to understand whether to take a risk or not, then there was a question that was posed in this book in chapter 9. And let me just open to it and read it out to you. Chapter 9, it's a question that really sums up everything you need to know when it comes to taking risk. And it's a very simple question. It says, what's the worst thing that could happen if, and then you fill in the gap. What's the worst thing that could happen if? And the very first question I asked myself when I saw this was, what's the first thing that could happen if you take that step? Now, the reason why I asked that to myself was because I've had this problem of starting up something or taking the first step for something without analyzing it like for hours, for days, for weeks, for months. And I think I remember I mentioned a time ago that for this particular podcast, this idea came in October 2018. But it took me 4 months to prepare and to actually plan it to become what it is today. So this question, if I had seen it then, it have really helped me to, put together or get the proper perspective of what I need to understand to take a risk to start something. So if you take this question and apply it to any part of your life, I think you will begin to see the need to actually answer these questions before you do whatever it is you want to do. Now, I'll just mention random questions. And there's a particular one from this particular book. Now, understand that Ben Carson is not particularly neurosurgeon, I think. And there was a question he asked himself here that what's the worst thing that could happen if we operate? That's on those children that he was able to, separate. And then the second one, what's the worst thing that could happen if we don't separate or if we don't operate? Now, he tried to see it from two different angles. If we do it, what's the worst that could happen? If we don't do it, what's the worst that could happen? And if you pick this to answer any form of question, for example, what's the worst thing that could happen if you decide to work 2 extra hours in a day? What's the worst that could happen if you decide not to work 2 hours extra in a day? What's the worst thing that could happen if you take this particular step? What's the worst thing that could happen if you don't take that step? What's the worst thing that could happen if you decide not to procrastinate? And what's the worst thing that could happen if you push it a little bit further to do it later? So this particular question helps helped me to be able to narrow down my thinking process to just two things. What's the worst that could happen if I do it, and what's the worst that could happen if I don't do it? So there's a whole lot of thinking going on around that particular question. But then thinking about the after effect and thinking about the after effect of what is good or what shouldn't be. I think, is that it? Yeah, thinking about it from two different angles. If I do and if I don't, what will really happen? And if you can answer what would happen after, or you can understand what will really happen eventually, then it will help you decide whether to take a risk or not. So if I ask you, what's the worst thing that could happen if you stop watching the video right now? And if I go again and say, what's the worst thing that could happen if you don't stop or if you continue watching this video right now? It's up to you to answer the question. So take it in any way you can take it. What's the worst thing that could happen if? And then fill in the gap. For me, thinking about my projects, my work, and my freelance life, there was one particular question I asked also. What's the worst thing that could happen if I decide to work in a 9 to 5 job? And what's the worst thing that could happen if I decide not to? And when I answered the question of not to, it gave me the understanding that, okay, what I'm doing right now is actually worth it, because I have the freedom to actually do a couple of things I believe would actually benefit me. But on the other hand, if you ask yourself the same question and you get a different answer, or you can answer it differently, it helps you understand what exactly you need to be doing. So if you're someone who wants to start something, ask yourself that question. What's the worst thing that could happen if I start it? And then if you're someone who wants to actually start something also, ask yourself, what's the worst thing that could happen if I don't start it? So it helps you narrow down your thinking process, like I said. And those are the two major things I just want to share from this book. There are tons of things to share from the book, but if you are privileged to lay hands on this book, kindly do so and read it. It's worth the read. I can recommend it to anybody. It really helped me, and it has changed a major part of my life. So I say thank you to the book and to the writer as well. It's awesome. If you want to get the book, there's a link. I'll drop a link in the description below for you to just look through it. And yeah, I think that's the end of the podcast. I just want to quickly talk about the previous episode or the previous week, why I didn't upload any episode. I had a little issue with my service provider and I couldn't upload a particular time. So the issue is being fixed, and hopefully before the next episode it will be completely settled. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate your patience to listen to this. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next Wednesday.